I won't stop. This isn't a canned speech or anything like that, but I'm not going to stop in the middle of it to answer questions during the slideshow, but I will get to everybody's questions at the end of the slideshow. Okay, so again, I want to thank everybody for being on today. My name is Charlie Castro. If you don't know me, I do these webinars typically anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week, depending upon what's sort of going on in that particular week. I've been doing these for about 5 years now. I also host a radio show in San Francisco called Real Estate 360. I'm on Thursdays from 2 to 3 o'clock on KDOW San Francisco. You can listen if you're in the Bay Area. You can listen to that live on 1220 on the AM dial, or you can listen online at www.kdow.biz. You can listen to me live every Thursday at 2 o'clock. A couple of things we have some archive shows for those that want to listen to some information about different things going on in the investment real estate world. September the 11th, I had Angelo Remora on. I have that on a podcast. If you'd like to hear that, Angelo is probably one of the better wholesalers in the United States. Ohio Cash Flow. He is an expert in the Ohio market, providing turnkey cash flow properties in that market, not just single-family turnkey singles, but also packages as well in that market. October 2nd, which was last week, we had Jason Gautreaux on with National Mortgage. Now today I'm going to talk about financing, and I'm going to be talking about what Jason's doing at National Mortgage. A little bit unique. I've not seen a non-recourse lender operate quite like Jason. If you'd like to listen to the interview with Jason, I have that podcast. It was done last Thursday the 2nd. And if you'd like to listen to that, contact me. I can get you that interview with Jason. It's pretty interesting. But I'm going to go through what he's doing today. That was what I advertised for. I'm going to talk about financing today and what Jason Gautreaux is doing at National Mortgage. On October the 9th, which is this Thursday, my guest is Julie Harrison with Homestar LLC. As you can see a theme here, what I do is on my show is I try to go out into the marketplace throughout the United States, in the markets that people are looking to buy in, and I try to bring people on that are in that market, that know that market. They can talk specifically about what's going on in that particular market. All of these markets are markets that hedge funds buy in. There are reasons why hedge funds buy in these markets. They're considered to be some of the best places in the country to invest your money. So Julie Harrison, from with Homestar LLC. Julie's a pretty dynamic woman, was just recently named one of the top 5 business women in all of the state of Mississippi. Pretty interesting lady and what she's doing down there. October 16th, I got coming up Dan Noble with Summit Assets Group. Some of you know Summit Assets Group. Some of you may actually be on here today. I didn't look at the entire roster of who's on today, but some of you may have been here through Summit Assets Group. Dan does a great job. Then October 23rd, I got a very special guest, Ryan Pohlman, who is the president and CEO of Buy Property Direct. If you don't know who they are one of the top 3 hedge fund buyers in the United States. And what Ryan will be talking about is he'll be talking about where they buy and why they buy there. And many of you may be here from some of the email blasts that we've sent out about having larger packages available throughout the United States. I work with one gentleman in particular up in the Bay Area, Phil Fultz, who him and I collaborate on providing larger packages to folks that are looking to buy. Well, Ryan is one of the largest buyers in the country, and so it'll be interesting to see what Ryan has to say about, again, where they buy and why they buy there. And it's just good information to have. I just saw this morning. Actually, I've been using this slide for about a month or two now. This is from Trulia, but the one I saw this morning was really fascinating. But this is from Trulia, the top 10 most overvalued properties housing in the country. This has been a little bit tweaked. I got the new statistics here. I just wrote it down. Of the top 5 most overvalued markets in the United States, 4 of them are right here in California. San Bernardino is rated number 5th. By the way, they're overvalued by anywhere from 15 to 22%, these 5 markets. San Bernardino is rated number 5. San Francisco is the 4th most overvalued real estate in the United States. I live in Orange County, California. It was rated number 1 here. It's now considered to be the 3rd most overvalued real estate in the United States. LA is number 2, and number 1 is Austin, Texas. So the only market that's not considered the most overrated real estate in the country, only one market is not in California, and that's Austin, Texas, in the top 5. Okay, now the most undervalued. Now this is where most of the institutional buyers look to buy. Ohio obviously is a big market. Michigan, Detroit. I'm not a big fan of Detroit, but some people are attracted to it because, what happens when you go all the way to the bottom, like Detroit did? Well, there's only one way to go up, and that's what a lot of funds see. They see Detroit, and they say, well, it's hit bottom. It's got to come back up. The automobile industry is certainly recovering. The economy is certainly recovering there in Detroit. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't see the best inventory down there. There's other markets that we like a lot more than that, like Birmingham and Atlanta and some areas, pockets down in Florida. But this sort of gives you an idea of where and why hedge funds would be attracted to these smaller markets. And what I talk about all the time, not just on my webinars, but on my radio show as well, is that don't look at real estate as an emotional purchase. Like if you're buying a piece of real estate to live in, that's an emotional purchase, right? I live in Orange County. I love the city. I love the schools for my kids. I love the culture. I love the weather. That's a great reason to buy a house to live in. But if you're looking to buy a house to invest in, and look at it like you're investing in a stock, right? When you buy Apple stock, you don't drive to their corporate headquarters and walk up and down the hallways to make sure people are doing their job, right? You buy that stock because you see it possibly providing a good rate of return. And so when institutional buyers look at markets to buy in, they look at markets where they feel they can get a good return, not so much where they may care to live. And I get asked all the time, you know, the market's rebounded, you know, the crash was in 08, 09, that's when prices hit rock bottom. But is this, you know, did I miss the boat? I get asked this question all the time. Did I miss it? It's 2014, right? The market's rebounded. I really missed the goal. No, you really didn't. If you look at most of what the economic indicators said at the beginning of this year, and I started at the beginning of this year, January, February, just doing webinars about what happened in 2013 and what we had projected to see in 2014. And this has been the best year for me. And this, I think, for a lot of people, you know, Forbes did a thing and said that a third of all millionaires were going to buy real estate in 2014, and that 80% of people felt that buying real estate in 2014 was a good investment to make. And so you saw all those indicators early in the year, and it proved to be true as we went throughout the year. This is just really the best time to buy, and there's a bunch of good reasons why. And I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes talking about some of the reasons why this is really still the best time to buy. Now, Brenton Hayden, if you don't know him, founder of Renters Warehouse, he wrote this article in July in Entrepreneur Magazine. I picked up a copy of it, and I read this article, and I thought it was really good. I'm just going to sort of do a little snippet of why he said the 5 reasons that buying real estate is a prudent investment in 2014. Number 1, don't miss the lucrative bottom bounce. Interestingly, we think the bottom bounce was back in 08, 09, 10, right? I'm telling you, if you buy right today, meaning you buy directly from the wholesalers that we work with, really you get the best prices really now. I mean, I'm seeing prices now on some, and I'll show you some examples later in the slideshow, but really the bottom bounce, we're in the middle of it now. If you buy right, now that's the key. You certainly can't buy in San Jose, and you can't buy in Newport Beach. You're not going to get the best deals there, but it's the right markets, you're absolutely going to get the best deals in those markets, and that's what we spend our time doing. And it's, by the way, we're no geniuses. When we talk about the markets that we go into and we refer people to wholesalers to acquire property, it's not because we're geniuses, because we follow where the big money is going, and the big money goes into markets where they know, because they've done extensive research in those markets, those are the best places to buy. Now, what our sort of value add is, we say, okay, well, who's the best people to buy from? Who's your best partners? And we'll talk about that. Number 2, property hasn't been this affordable in decades. Now, this is talking about mortgage rates holding at a remarkably low 3%. All that's good if you're a homeowner. If you're looking to be an investor and invest in real estate, you know, for something to live in, yeah, that's all true. You haven't seen, I mean, I bought my first home in Orange, well, no, I bought my first home in Riverside, California in 1981. The interest rate was 17%. I mean, now you can get interest rates of 4 and 5%, and that's crazy. So from that respect, but forget the fact that you may be looking at financing, and we're going to talk about financing today. Forget that for a second, because the fact is, Credit.com reported in 2013 that 45% of all homes purchased in America were purchased by investors. There was no loan recorded at the time of sale. The property was purchased by using cash. There was no loan attached to it. So what does that simply say? Well, it just simply says that investors think real estate's a pretty good investment. And when you talk to the hedge fund managers, the guys that determine the markets, what they'll simply tell you is this: it's the best investment in America today. It's not a paper stock. It's not going to, I mean, Warren Buffett's betting lots of money against the market, right? It's not a paper stock. It's not going to disappear overnight. Even if something happens in the economy where we take a little bit of dip like we did third quarter last year when the government shut itself down, we saw a little bit of it. It didn't matter. If you're buying under market value and you're buying in the right markets, those little blips are just blips on a screen. They don't mean anything, right? And so you are really getting the best pricing that you've ever seen, or at least in our lifetime today. Yeah, it's the best rental market. And this is sort of a sad saga, because for many Americans now, you know, home ownership is but a dream. There's actually companies now that are buying homes to sell to people on 30-year fixed loans because they see a vacuum void of people being able to buy homes. And that's a tragic statement for Americans today. Really, that is a tragic statement. On the flip side, if you're an investor, it's no better time to be an investor because rental prices are not only going up, but the rental market is solid and strong and probably will be for some time to come. So for an investor, the fact that Blackstone's the largest owner of homes in America, 48,000 homes. Their occupancy rate is 94%. And that's from a group that's buying or did buy many of their properties off bulk lists and tapes, which means they've always got a percentage of their properties that are under or non-performing properties, right? Because they bought stuff that isn't done being rehabbed yet, all that sort of stuff. But 94% of their homes are rented. That gives you some sort of idea about the value of the rental market. We're going to talk about this today. I've done webinars for 5 years now, and the number one question I was asked throughout 5 years was, do you have financing available? And the number one and only answer for that was no. There's no financing available. It was hard enough to get a loan for a 30-year fixed loan to buy a house to live in, let alone finding money to go buy income property with. That's all changing. Blackstone Capital, which I just mentioned, is the largest owner of single-family homes, 48,000 homes in America. They have a division now called B2R. I actually have a couple clients working with them. They assist people in expanding their portfolio from, that 3 properties to 10. Or if they got 10, they bring them to 20. How they do it is basically they leverage their inventory. They loan them more money to go buy more houses. So Blackstone sees the value in loaning money. I'm going to talk about Security Pacific, or Security National rather, but today that's what we're going to be talking about in a few slides, what they're doing. Man, extremely unique. When I saw what these guys were doing, I immediately said, come be a guest on my radio show. You got to come talk to our listeners about using your financing piece to buy inventory. So capital is becoming increasingly accessible. And yeah, if you find the right partners, and once upon a time, and really not that long ago, 2-3 years ago, we still really didn't know. When I say we, I mean the industry. Really still didn't know who the best property managers were and who the ones you didn't want to work with were. I can say with pretty confidently now we do. And regardless of the market you go into, and we're always going to, suggest that when you buy income property that it's finished, right? It doesn't need to have work done to it. You're not buying a flip. The safest way to invest your money is by buying a property that's quote-unquote turnkey. It's finished. It's been rehabbed, got a tenant. Those are the best properties to buy. And if you couple that with a really solid property management team in that market, yeah, you can be a stress-free landlord. And that's what Jason's saying here. He's saying, welcome to 2014. With technology the way it is today, you don't have to be living next door to the property to be able to take good care of it. You have to have a good, solid manager in that market. And by the way, when I talked earlier about the guests that I've had on my show, you probably saw a theme. We did Ohio, we did Mississippi, we did Birmingham, we did Kansas City. Then we did a national hedge fund that buys all over. The key for all those folks is they've got infrastructure in those markets, and that's critically important. The success. And finally, you want to buy directly from a wholesaler. The people that I work with, Conrad Ercolano, Phil Folks, these guys, we work directly with the sources. We're not going through multiple chains of, daisy chains. And for those of you that are in the industry, you know what I mean by that. If you call me up and say, hey, Charlie, you sent me that package of 36 homes in Birmingham, are you direct to the seller? No, we're always direct to the seller. If we can't go directly to the seller and talk to them, we won't do the deal because it's just too difficult to do it's 2 things. It's difficult to do any sort of a deal working through multiple layers of parties, of people that are in between you and the seller. It just doesn't work. It's too difficult. If I sell somebody a package, and we sell packages all the time, if somebody calls me up, like for example, I got an email from one this morning, said I need the ARVs in these properties before I can finish my proposal. It was a group in Houston of 37 homes. I was able to get the answer to that within about 30 minutes. If I have to go through layers of people, it just takes days to get that stuff done. So we just don't do that. And the second part is if you have all those middlemen, you got layers of fees. So your ROIs go down. I talked about this being the best time to buy. I'm going to show you some cap rates here on a few homes that we've got available at the moment. You're going to see cap rates 14, 15, 16%. If you were buying from what I call a specialized REO group, which is a company that buys real estate, fixes it up, and then sells it to you, well, you're paying layers of fees. You don't have to do that. You can buy directly from the wholesaler and get much better ROIs and buy directly from the selling party. Not only do you get better ROIs, but you also can get information about the properties that you're buying a lot cleaner than going through multiple layers of different groups. These are just some of the properties. Now, we do put a lot of our stuff up on the internet, but quite frankly, this is the website we use. It's just a wholesaler's marketplace is what this is. This is some of the markets that we have up there currently. But to be very candid, the way that inventory is moving today, in most cases, we don't even have time to load it before it's gone. I mean, as an example, I'm going to show you a property today that I just loaded into this webinar today, this morning, and I got a call an hour ago from the wholesaler saying I sold it. So it's fluid, it's a moving target. Now, if we know what you're looking for, however, if you contact us and say, this is my criteria, I want this area, I want this type of property, I've got this much money, if we know what your criteria is, when we get it, we just call you. It's really simple. Okay, let's talk about Security National Mortgage. Now, this is what most of you probably are here for today because, again, we get asked questions all the time about inventory, and we get asked all the time about financing, and there just has never been any sort of reasonable financing available. I love these guys. I got to tell you something. I had them on my show. If you want to listen to the radio show, it's hard. I do have the podcast. Jason Gautreaux is doing an excellent job. So Security National Mortgage, I'm just going to give you the bullet points of what they do, and then you can contact them. I don't get fees working with them. It's nothing like that. You work directly with them. They'll help you. If you're looking for property, we can help you in that world. But this is for people looking to get financing. Okay, so they lend in 42 states. I'll give you the states they don't lend in a few minutes. They do all the processing, underwriting, and closing out of their Utah office. They're based in Salt Lake. Finance terms can be 10 to 30 years. What does it depend upon? It depends upon the personality of the loan, the personality of the property. It depends on the personality of the borrower, their credit, what they're trying to accomplish. There's a lot of factors that go into that. There's only 2 lender fees. Now, those of you that know non-recourse lending, you know, first of all, if it's not a percentage, that's a really cool thing. In other words, non-recourse lenders basically say we're going to take 10% as a fee. Well, if it's a $100,000 house, you're talking about 10 grand. So the fact they have this fixed fees says they're really a real lender. They're not doing this to get points out of you or fees out of you. They're really trying to get a loan that can benefit you and them as a lender. So 2 fees, $1,095 and $250 for a processing fee. Both owner and non-owner occupied properties. What does that mean? If you're trying to get a loan to live in a house you want to live in, they can do that. If you're looking for a piece of investment real estate, they can do that too. Really flexible. Continuing on, all lending is non-recourse. What is a non-recourse loan? Non-recourse loans mean they have no recourse against you, only the property. So you default for some reason on the loan. They can't sue you. They can't report you to the credit agency. They can't do any of that. It just means they can go get the property. So really, when you borrow money against the property, it's the property that's at risk, not you, your credit, or anything like that. That's what a non-recourse loan is. These are all non-recourse loans. Financing is available for all credit types, including foreclosures within 12 months, which floored me. I asked that question it wasn't even on my list of questions today. I asked them on my show, and I said to Jason, I said, what about foreclosures? He said, oh yeah, we can. If you had a foreclosure in the last 12 months, we can still work with you. That shocked me. That's really rare. There's stated income financing available for all investors, so they do stated income. In other words, I'm not going to ask you to drag out your tax returns. Rates are as low as 4.65, as high as 8.99. Obviously, that's credit dependent, FICO score dependent, all that. They look for a minimum FICO score of 600, which is, for those of you that didn't know the finance world, 600. I mean, 5 years ago, if you got a 600, credit score, you couldn't get a loan for anything. Now you go down to as low as 600. There's no minimum or maximum. Now, they did sort of tell me that 2 million is sort of their ceiling. They will do commercial. The 2 million is really sort of the top they want to go to. But they're really, and there's no minimum, which is really cool, because if you want to, let's say you want to buy and I advertise this, I should probably mention this, but we have a group of homes in Macon, Georgia. There's about 30 of them down there, and they start at about 30 grand a door. That's really super low cost of entry for a property that's going to cash flow at 15 to 20%. Really high cash flow, really low cost of entry. You could finance those. That's amazing. They'll go that low. But usually these groups go down to 50,000 was the lowest I've ever seen. So they don't loan in Maine, Vermont, Rhode Island, New Jersey, New York, Maryland, and Nebraska. Don't ask me why, because I don't know why. I asked. I'm not sure they knew why. Their underwriters will not write loans in those markets. I don't know why that is. They do commercial lending. I'm going to leave their phone numbers up here for a minute, But if you don't have a pen handy, I'll think of something else to say for the next 10 seconds. You can write down their information. Just tell them you were on Charlie's webinar, and you'll get right through to either Michael or to Jason. But there's their information. You can contact them directly. We do some other non-recourse lending on specific properties. We can talk about that. But if you're looking for a lending piece, I got to tell you, I think these guys, what they're doing is pretty super dynamic. I think they're going to really, between the radio show and these, I got one more webinar tomorrow, and I got a huge turnout tomorrow. Yeah, it's tomorrow. And then I'm going to do 2 more next week just talking about the financing piece. I mean, these guys really got a good thing going on. Anyway, okay, so I advertised this. I had a couple people call me about it. Yes, it's still available. This one is still available. This one was unique because it's rare that I get an $800 rental for less than $50,000. It's brand new, recently rehabbed. I didn't put after rehab pictures on here, but I spoke earlier about if you're going to invest in investment real estate, and especially if you're a small investor, if you're a large investor and you've got infrastructure like construction crews and all that, then it's different. But if you're an individual investor looking to buy 10 homes or whatever, it is so much safer for you to invest your money in something that's done now. I can tell you, I've seen the inside of this house. It's beautiful. It's practically brand new. It had a new roof, new siding, new flooring, new paint, new carpet, new knobs, new plumbing, new everything. So $800 rental, under 40. That's what I was talking about. You can get better deals now than you could now. One thing I will say, and for those industry people on the phone, you know what I'm talking. This is the type of house that you would sell to a specialized REO group at $45,000. They'd sell that for $55,000, and there'd be nothing wrong with that. Because at an $800 rental at $55,000 with a cap rate that would still probably be, 14, 15%, there's nothing wrong with that. No, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. It would be down from there, so probably be like maybe 11 or 12%. There's nothing wrong with an 11 or 12% ROI at a $55,000 buy rate. There's nothing wrong with that. But my point has been is that if you buy directly from the wholesaler, this is owned by 3D. I don't even mind telling you who it is because I sell their properties every day. 3D Properties, they did great work. If buying directly from them gets you the best deal, Zestimate had this property at $75,000. You're buying it way under market value. It's $45,000 with a 13% cap, $800 rental, and I'm pretty sure at the Section 8 voucher as well. Okay, I'm just going to give you a couple more ideas, and I'll take some questions. I blew through today's webinar. I'm going to do this in 30 minutes or less. I'm sure it makes you all very happy. And I know I talk fast, so if you got questions and you want to go back and ask some questions, feel free. So this gives you just some other ideas. In this market, you got rent $775, insurance, that's your insurance, your asking price, your ROI is 15% on that. And again, that's that's also 3D Property. So when I talked about, you can get better deals now than you could in 2000, yeah, that's true, you can. I guarantee it. If you've been on these webinars, and I'm looking at some of the names, I recognize some of you folks, some of you have been around these for a while. If you've been on these, you know that if you go back to 2011 and 12, you remember you'd see these types of properties for $55,000. An $800 rental, $55,000 easy. The one before that, $45,000. I mean, those are crazy prices. You didn't see those 2 years ago. And the reason is because we're not buying these off a third party. We're just saying, hey, this is who you can buy from in this market. Go buy from them. Yeah, if you want to ask the question, there's an obvious question. So how do you get paid? They send me a referral fee. If I refer them a customer, they send me a referral fee. It's real simple, but it's not a markup to where you're adding $10,000 to the price and paying Charlie. That's not how it works. I think I just have a couple more here, and then I'll take some questions. I already see some questions coming in. But just again, this just gives you some idea. Actually, this is the one that sold. I loaded this one in about 3-4 hours ago, and then I got a call just about an hour before the webinar. This one already was sold. So, but again, this is why. You got an $850 rental. You got a 15% cap, $53,000 property on our house is brand new. Has been brand new rehab. That again had all new everything, brand new roof, new metal siding was put on the house. Everything inside of the HVAC is brand new. The plumbing's brand new. Anyway, that one's already gone. So that's it. That's my seminar, my webinar today. I'm going to take questions now. I've already seen some questions come in here. Now remember something. I'm not an expert at the lending. Okay, I've got it. The first notice there's no audio. So if I've been muted out, so if somebody can maybe drop me a note and let me know if I just got done talking to myself for an hour. Somebody's messaged me and said there's no audio. It says mute. So I'm certainly hopeful that you all could hear that. If anybody else would like to drop me a note and just let me know if you could hear me. My phone is not on mute. Double check that. My microphone is on. I don't think I had myself muted out. You are fine. Thank you so much. Okay, let me get to a couple more questions. Okay, somebody logged in late here. Okay, and somebody else says my audio has been fine too. You're fine. Okay, thank you so much for that. I don't know what happened there. I guess maybe when I got started I was muted out. Okay, first question I had was about the recording, because I know I tend to talk fast. My wife tells me all the time, Charlie, you got to slow down. I know. Okay, I did record the webinar. So if you want to get a copy of it, no issue. Just contact me, and I'll be glad to get you a copy of it. The other question is regarding the podcasts. If you'd like a copy of the podcast, you can email me at either one of these two addresses, Charlie at sbcglobal.Charlie Casper at sbcglobal, or Charlie at re360radio.com. You can just contact me there. I'll be happy to get you a copy of any of the podcasts that you'd like to see. And I got a couple more here. Let me just get to the question. Okay, what's the website for Security National? You know what? The answer is I didn't write it down. I didn't write it down, but I'll tell you what. Obviously we archive the questions that come in, so we can respond to them professionally. So before the end of the day, I will make sure I get you the website for Security National. I'll have somebody in my office shoot you off the website for Security National. And I'll tell you what, too. I would encourage you to call them, Jason or Michael Sorensen, both. I'd encourage you to call them. They're really good guys. They're young guys. They're really smart. They know their business. They can give you feedback with regards to how they might be able to help you get something financed pretty quickly. And so, yeah, I would call them, but I will get you that. Okay, does Security National lend on houses and income properties and apartments? They will do any of the three. They'll do single-family residences. They will do multifamily. I actually have a couple of really good apartment houses available right now. If anybody's looking for multifamily, I generally don't advertise multifamily, and here's the reason why. When I get multifamily properties, I have a small database of people that I know wants multifamily, and I can't stress enough that if you're on the webinar and you came to us through Summit Assets Group, to contact Summit Assets Group and get on our mailing list. If you came to us through Phil Folks and some email blasts we've been sending out to some folks looking for bulk packages, contact myself or Phil. Get on our list. And what I mean by that is if we know what you're looking for, so I'm looking for apartment houses in Texas. That's awesome. Because when I do my radio show or I do these webinars, I always get people to come on and say, hey, I've got this or that or the other thing in this market. And if I know what you're looking for, I started actually doing that at the beginning part of the year, and I'll tell you why I did that, because I was getting people who would call me up and they'd say, hey, I'm looking for income property in, Portland. And I'd say, man, I don't have any income property in Portland. And then 2 months would go by and somebody called me up and say, hey, I got 12 single-family turnkey properties in Portland. And I'd go, wow, I had somebody that called me about that, and who was that again? So we're smarter than that this year. If you contact us and you let us know what you're looking for, we'll put you in our database and we'll know what it is you're looking to acquire. Can you email me any 10 units or more in Birmingham, Alabama? My email is, yeah, absolutely. Now, what I'd ask you to do, because I always do the same thing, in order for me to best serve you, I need to know what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that's unrehabbed and you just want to go do the work yourself, I need to know that. If you're looking for turnkey, I need to know that too. If you got a price point, I need to know that too. I did this for a long time, I just don't do it anymore. I don't just like sending out lists because I don't know what you're looking for. I mean, if you're looking to buy something that's Walmart-ish, I need to take you to the Walmart website. If you're looking to buy something Nordstrom-ish, I need to take you to the Nordstrom's website. So I don't want to just send you stuff blindly. I need to know what your criteria is. If you tell me, and actually I'll tell you a quick story. 2 weeks ago I met a hedge fund, great group of guys based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They said, this is what we're looking for. And so I sent them a bunch of property. And they came back and said, nah, this doesn't work for this reason. I said, oh, well, you're looking for this then. I knew exactly what they needed because they gave me what their criteria was. An individual buyer is no different. If you tell me what you're looking for, I can help you find it. If I don't know what you're looking for, then I'm just shooting ducks in a barrel, right? It's the shotgun marketing method. I'm just sending you a bunch of stuff, hoping that you like something. Just tell me what you're looking for. I'll be glad to send it to you. Now, I'm always going to tell you that you're better to buy rented and rehab property, even if you're going to flip it. If you're going to flip it, that's okay. You can get stuff that's rented and rehab at a low enough number. Well, I'll give you an example. That home that I had up there on Auburn Street that was on Zestimates for, you could put that up for sale sign in the front yard. You could buy that at $45,000, put it for sale sign in the front yard, and probably sell it easy for $60. But I'd still tell you that you're always going to be better off not getting into that game, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I got some feedback on that last question. Okay, so you're looking for value, add value, no burnout, cosmetics, updating inside the units. Okay, so you're looking for, we'll talk offline. So you're basically looking for stuff that you can go and do a little bit of work to. Now, I have no issue doing that. I have those properties, so knowing out what you're looking for, I can certainly help you out. I will get in contact with you after the webinar. We can talk about that. Okay, do I have any more questions in here? Yes, I do. Okay, you're looking for multifamily. Okay, once again, multifamily. I'll tell you what, I had a great one in Birmingham, and I think I got it under contract this morning, but I can get that information to you. Okay, I got another question here. Can you go over the houses that is available for sale, how much down is needed, and how much loan can I get? Is it rented? Who is managing it? Sorry, those are not too many questions. Those are great questions. Okay. So if you're looking to get a loan on a property like I showed you today, I would contact the guys. First of all, I would contact me about the property. You do that first. Figure out this is the property I'm looking to buy. It's $45,000. So you know how much your investment's going to be. Then you can talk to the guys that you're going to lend to, and then they'll give you the information with regards to what you need down, all that sort of stuff. They can answer that. Now, the one thing I will never do, and if you're new to these webinars, you know, especially in 2014, I drew sort of a line in the sand. And that line was, if I'm going to recommend somebody buys a property from one of these wholesalers, the management's going to be in place. There's no other way to do it. In an ideal situation, you're buying a property that has been rehabbed and rented in the last 30 days. Seriously. I get them all the time. Every morning I come to my computer and I've got 2 or 3 homes from different wholesalers around the country, if not more, that have been recently renovated and they're turnkey. And if you contact me after the webinar, I'll write down my email address, contact me, and I'll show you some of the photo galleries. You'll see homes that are brand stinking new. They're done inside and out. I had one this morning that they projected rent was $775. I think it's selling at $53,000. Section 8 came back with a $804 voucher. So it's an $804 rent. So it's about a 15% cap rate. So the best stuff to buy is the stuff that's brand new, rented, rehab for the individual investor. That is your safest, best investment. Whatever you're doing, something that needs work, the thing that can cost you money is, I bought this property, needed $5,000 worth of work, but really when you got done with it, you didn't know there was mold in one of the bedrooms. So it was really $8,000 in work. That happens every day. And so taking the guess out of it is by simply buying something that was just finished. The contractors just went in there, gutted it, and redid it. They basically rebuilt the house. That property is not going to cost you money with regards to repairs and that sort of stuff. And if you have a new tenant that's been installed with a good property manager in place, you take out that risk that you will incur, by buying something that isn't done. So the answer is yes. I will always try to make sure it's rented. The management company will always be in place. And the only way I will do that, otherwise, if you specifically ask for it. In other words, if someone says, I want property that isn't rented, that needs rehab, I'll do the work. I've got, contractors in that market. If you have that sort of infrastructure, then the game is sort of different. If you don't have that infrastructure, that's not what I would recommend that you buy. I'd recommend that you buy something, again, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but I would recommend that you buy something that's finished. Okay, let's see if I got any more questions here. There was not too many questions, so I'm leaving my number up here for quite a while. Okay, so lots of great questions today. I really appreciate that. We had a great turnout today. We're going to have another great one tomorrow. if you want to join us. And if you guys want to listen to any of our podcasts, those podcasts are awesome, by the way, because you get some really good information. And what I try to do on my radio show, I really try to bring people on that I interview that are experts in the business. Because a lot of people that live in California, like, for example, my radio show is in San Francisco, so obviously I get calls all the time from people out in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley looking. And this is the question I get all the time. Man, I live in San Francisco. Man, do I want to buy a house in Birmingham? When you listen to these webinars and you listen to these people talk that are in these markets that I'm saying, hey, if you want to buy in Jackson, Mississippi, man, call Julie Harrison. You want to buy in Birmingham, Alabama, you call Rob Malcolm or Jason or Justin Harrison or Jay Benoit. Those are the people. So once you hear those folks talk, what you learn is you learn that these guys are experts in their field, and they're going to take good care of my income property for me. That's really super important. Okay, I think that's my last question. So I want to thank everyone for being on today. I know I have a lot to follow up with. I've got about 5 or 6 people here that need follow-up, and so I will follow up with you. There is a Dodger game on this afternoon, so it may be slow today, but I will get back to you today. And again, my number's up here for a while. I always leave my days open to take questions, so if you got any questions you want to talk to me, you can always call me. I got my phone number up here. If you get my voicemail, that just means I'm talking to somebody else, but I always call you back within the same business day. So I am in Southern California. I'm in Orange County, so know that I'm on West Coast time, Pacific Standard Time. And I think that is my webinar for today. And, of course, my phone is ringing because I forgot to shut it off, so I'm going to do that right now. So I want to thank you all for being on today. Great group, great questions. Again, love to talk to you. Give me a call anytime. And, again, I'm going to leave my phone number here just for a couple minutes more. I'm going to log off. And I want to thank everyone for being on today, and hope to talk to you real soon.